We're now going to modify our original HTML document, gets.html, so that it can work with Firefox and Microsoft Internet Explorer brand browsers. And we're going to solve the extra whitespace problem that is a problem in Mozilla, Firefox, and Netscape Navigator, so that now we're going to be able to work with gets.html in a cross-browser fashion to get the celebrity guest, and indeed it does get the celebrity guest, Cary Grant. How does this work? It works by removing the white space. What we're going to do is we're going to read an XML document from the server. We're going to remove the white space from that XML document so you can handle the result using Internet Explorer, Firefox, and so forth using the same programming. So the important point is here is we're going to remove the extra white space, the indentation white space that's being used inside the documents. That looks like this. This is indentation white space, and it's handled differently in Firefox and Internet Explorer. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove that white space altogether from the document and then treat the document in the same fashion using Internet Explorer and the Firefox and Mozilla and Netscape brand of browsers. So in order to do this, we're going to use some advanced JavaScript. This is in this function remove white space, and if you don't necessarily want to follow along with that, that's fine. All you've got to do is use this function, remove white space, in your own XML downloading Ajax enabled documents, and all you've got to do is use this remove white space and call it on a document before working with it to remove the white space so it's no longer an issue. In Firefox and Mozilla, the way this works is you pass it the XML document you download. This is a JavaScript XML document object. It is the same object you recover from the XML HTTP request object's response XML property. So you just pass it the XML HTTP request object's response XML property, and that's the XML document in JavaScript object form. What we're going to do is we're going to loop over all the child nodes inside the XML document, and you do that by saying xml.childNodes. This child nodes property returns an array of all the immediate child nodes of the XML document. You can say xml.childnodes.length. That tells you how many nodes there are, and so it tells you how many times you've got to loop. We're going to find the current node that we're working on by saying xml.childnodes loop index. This recovers the current child node from the child nodes array. And if you're working with and you found an element, then you've got to work on the children of that element, because the child nodes property only returns an array of the immediate children of the XML document. And so if you're working with those nodes and you find an element node, which is current node.node type equals 1, if the node type equals 1, you're working with a child element of the XML document, and you have to call remove white space again to remove the text nodes, the white space text nodes from that child element. So in other words, that's the way you work through the entire document, element by element. You work through the children and the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren and so forth by calling remove white space over and over again on each element child. And if you are dealing with a text node, which is the current node type is equal to 3, then what you want to do is you test whether or not this is a white space text node. This is a little bit of advanced JavaScript here. It uses a regular expression, and what it does is it tests to make sure that the beginning of the expression and then the node you're testing starts with the beginning, only has spaces, and then ends. And if that test is true, then for the current node value, and the node type is 3, which means you're dealing with the text node, then you remove that text node. Okay, that's a little bit of advanced JavaScript. As a matter of fact, the whole thing is a little bit advanced. And as I said, you don't have to know how this works. All you have to do is you can borrow this remove white space function in your own code, and it works by simply removing all the pure white space text nodes. Again, you loop over all the nodes, and you get the current node. And if the current node is an element which might have children, you call remove white space on the current node so that it can handle the children as well. And if you're dealing with a pure white space text node, you want to remove that node as well. So remove white space works on the XML document and removes the white space. Then how do you know when to call the remove white space function? Well, if you want to, you can set up a flag a Boolean variable that's holds true-false values, and it's set to false originally. This is going to be called Mozilla flag for the Mozilla brand of browsers, which include Netscape Navigator, Mozilla, the Mozilla browser itself, and Firefox. And you set that to false initially, and if you're dealing with a Mozilla brand of browser, including Firefox, you can determine that here by saying if window.xml HTTP request exists, then you're dealing with Firefox or a Mozilla type browser. You can set the Mozilla flag to true. If the Mozilla flag is true, that means that you want to remove white space from the XML document before processing it, before navigating through it. You can do that something like this. After you read the XML from the server, you can test the Mozilla flag, and if it's true, then you call remove white space on the XML document. That will remove the white space and allow you to treat the result just as you would in the Internet Explorer, and so you can pass the result on to the display guest function, which then navigates through, ignoring the indentation and white space, navigates through the document, ignoring the indentation and white space, which is now appropriate because you have removed the white space from the XML document. So, as you can see, this is a very handy function to work with if you're going to be working with XML downloaded from the server, especially if you're going to be dealing with cross browsers such as Firefox, Internet Explorer, and so on. All you've got to do is to call the remove white space function and pass it the XML document, and that will allow you to handle the resulting XML the same in Internet Explorer, Firefox, Mozilla, Netscape Navigator, and so forth. So take a look at this example on the downloadable code for the course, guest.html, and I think you'll find it's a good one. As you can see, the result works. Get the celebrity guest. The celebrity guest was Cary Grant, and now you're able to handle XML using these navigation techniques, first child, last child, next sibling, and so forth, using XML downloaded from the server using Ajax techniques in a cross-browser fashion. Excellent.